Hello again everybody, and welcome to a new campaign in the A-10C Warthog called Georgian Hammer. So the one that I'm going to use is Georgian Hammer with combined arms. So I'm going to be using the combined arms features to manage not only my own aircraft, but the air war in general and the ground war as we go. How much detail I'm going to put into it other than my flying, we'll see, but I'll have the ability to control a whole lot of stuff here. So let me run through the mission briefing real quick, or the campaign description, and then we'll get into the first mission. Now, for the second time in the beginning of the 21st century, Georgia has been invaded and occupied by an invading Russia. Although ostensibly for humanitarian reasons to support ethnic Russians, the true cause appears to be more likely a re-establishing of Russia's southern flank against its southern neighbor of Turkey, which actually Georgia, where we're going to be flying out of, is right across the border from Turkey. And unlike the first instance though, Georgia is now a member of NATO and has pleaded with other NATO members to remove Russian forces from its territory. To date, only the US has responded with a modest contribution of the 52nd Fighter Wing, A-10s and F-16 CJs, so we're going to be the A-10s in this case, and elements of the 7th Corps. Now, Russian advances to date have been swift and decisive, and they are now only 46 kilometers north of the remaining Georgian stronghold at Batumi. Batumi is where we're going to be flying out of in this mission. Russian forces are currently gathering force around Cockpit, that's just to the north of Batumi, prior to their final push south. Advanced Russian forces are mostly comprised of older T-72s and BMP-2 armor, but more advanced systems have been detected moving towards the front. Not expecting NATO intervention, Russian air defenses and top cover are light at this time, and the Russian close air support is minimal, so we're going to have an easy time of it initially, but I think things will get harder as we get further into this. Now, 7th Corps elements are currently dug in between Chakva and Cockpit in a blocking position and are using the rough topography to the east to cover the eastern flank and the Black Sea to cover their western flank, and the 52nd is based out of Batumi, providing short flight times to the FIBA. Assuming US forces can halt the Russian advance, the follow-on goal will be to push north and expel Russian forces out of Georgia. So you will be spearheading this effort as a pilot of the 81st Fighter Squadron, and you and your fellow A-10C pilots will play a pivotal role in the campaign termed by NATO as Operation Georgian Hammer. So there you have it. Let's go ahead and step into the first mission. This is a very simple one. It's just a familiarization flight so that we can see the area. Now, it's a 0814 early morning takeoff. Close air support in the A-10C. I've got a loadout of an ALQ-131 ECM pod, a Lightning pod, targeting pod, and a couple of AIM-9s. So it looks like we just got settled into Batumi. The guys have removed the travel pods and the fuel tanks, and we're just going to take it up for a quick hop to have a look at the area. Now, the objective is to navigate the waypoints to become familiar with the local airspace and landmarks. Our flight will be on 251 AM UHF, and I'm going to make a note of this, although this time I believe I'm going to have all the frequencies on the kneeboard for me. I've got the kneeboard builder utility providing me some of this stuff, the one by Alaskan Grizzly, but I will jot this stuff down as I go. So then Allied flights and AWACS on 124 VHF AM and Magic 11, that's our AWACS aircraft call sign. Bullseye, abandoned airfield, and this is just a field up here to the north of this area. This is actually where I flew the Valley campaign in the A-10A, geez, way long ago. So I'm familiar with a lot of the terrain here and consult the mission planner for additional details. Now, threats, we expect some AAA in the form of ZU-23 emplacements. We have some, in addition, SA-8 OSA. So this is going to be the primary threat, at least on this mission. I'm not really going to get into the air defenses deeply here, but I will be on the lookout for that SA-8 side. It's a short-range radar guided SAM. And then at the bottom, hey, this is new. I've got a breakout of our group name, our airbase, and the frequency. So 260 megahertz, I'm assuming, is going to be the tower frequency. I'll jot that down for Batumi. Okay, so the mission planner. And in this campaign, I'm really going to take my time. I'm going to do this pretty much full real. I'm only going to fly the missions when I'm really in the mood to sort of take my time. I'm going to do the full startups, full shutdowns, and spend a lot of time here in the mission planner as we go, although not so much on this one. This is going to be fairly straightforward, and it's just flying the waypoints, although I will go ahead and select my flight, and I will bring up a separate utility to calculate some takeoff and landing data for me, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I have the DCS Mission Planner utility up. I'll have a link in the video description to the On the Range video where you can see how to use it and where to go to download it, but okay, I've got the payload saved down here on the very bottom, so I'm going to, on Station 1, have a 131 pod. On Station 11, I'm going to have 2x-9s. Station 10 is going to have a lightning pod, and it was going to be 97% fuel is what was loaded. I'm just going to take the default, and that's going to give me some takeoff and landing data here. And I don't need to fill all this stuff in. I know that I have plenty of runway in this case. I know that I'm going to be within the weight limitations for getting this thing off the ground. I am going to have it set up for 70 degrees of flaps at max thrust, and that's going to give me a rotation speed of 126 knots. Refusal speed of 11 knots, takeoff run of 3,014 feet. Yeah, like I said, plenty of runway since we're not taking any kind of a loadout up on this one. Now, if I come over to the mission tab, just assuming that I fly the nominal mission profile that's in here by default, that'll give me an approach speed of 130, landing speed of 120, landing roll of 1527. And again, the constraints here just aren't restrictive enough to drive me to do any more calculations here. I could input all the data from the flight plan in here. I think if it's a long mission, or if I were worried about the fuel state I would be in, I might take the time to do this, but for now all I really want is the takeoff and landing data, which I have. And there's a good confirmation that we're on 251 megahertz AN. That's the default frequency, so I won't have to do anything in the cockpit. Once we get this thing going, I'll exit the planner and I'll have a look at the route. So taking off, like it said, from Batumi. Now it's going to be a takeoff out over the water, right hand turn to Batumi itself. There's Chakva, there's the 7th Corps right there, dug in, defending against these forces up here in the north around Cabuletti. Now, I'm getting a lot of data here about where these vehicles and where these forces are. It's stuff that I would expect to have. You know, in a lot of cases, if I see too much stuff pop up on a map, I might just kind of ignore it and sort of scroll away real quick and look the other way. But yeah, for now, this is a good amount of data. I think this is realistically what I could expect to have, at least before getting up into a mission. Now, there's the SA-8 site, so you can see the range ring on it. As long as I don't get too far to the north, that's not going to be a threat. I've also got a ZU-23, I bet this is, from the range ring emplacement. Yeah, ZU-23 emplacement right there across the river in Capuletti itself. So as long as I don't get too far north, I'll be just fine. And as I'm up in the air, we'll play around with combined arms and have a look at what the view is from these locations out there in Capuletti. So other forces in the area that I'm going to be playing around with, I have a carrier group, the Carl Vinson group out there trolling around in the Black Sea. I was briefed to have an AWACS aircraft, although I don't see it on the map. I think that might pop up a little bit later as we go. But TACAN channel for Batumi, I have 16 X-ray, and I'll mess around with it for just practicing with the different types of navigation. And then, okay, tower frequency, yep, confirmed 260 megahertz for Batumi, and 110.3 is the ILS frequency, and that's on a course of 126, or a heading of 126. Okay, and with that, let's go ahead and hop into the aircraft, fly the route, enjoy the view, play around with combined arms a little bit, and get this campaign going. I'll be right back. Okay, here we go. So let's go ahead and take the briefing.
Good morning, sir, and welcome to Georgia. Here at Batumi, the 52nd Air Wing's Hogs and Vipers will be located. It's not a huge base, but it should serve our purposes for now. This morning we'll do a FAM flight of the local area so you can get acquainted with the airspace and the landmarks. Once you take off, I'll be right behind you.
Okay, sounds good. I'm just getting some last minute switch configurations done here. And now I'm ready to pull the checklist up and go through the startup. So let me get things caught up here a little bit. Okay, now priority engine start. Let's go battery on and inverter to standby. And let's have a quick check of the systems now. Let's go through the bleed air check. Okay, good lights. Release, lights out. Let's go through the fuel quantity check. Okay, should settle down about 5,900. Okay, release. Let's check quantity in the mains. And wing should be a little bit lower, 1,800 or so. Yep, nothing external showing. Mains and total internal, 10.7. Okay, yeah, that's the expected fuel load. And lights check. Just checking for the signal lights that are expected to be on, that, or at least for the ones that have power applied, especially the gear handle light. Okay, now let me get caught up here. Okay, clock, quantity, oxygen. So let's go supply lever on. Okay, caution, a low level caution light is off. Let me go to depress, and I'm going to get the caution light once the indicator goes below, oh, it gets close to 0. Okay, good check. Now let's step on over to, let's see here, APU start. Okay, APU is clear. Okay, switch on. Just going to watch the RPMs come up, watch the temperature, make sure it doesn't spike any higher than that. Okay, and I've already got the generator switch configured on, so I'll get power onto the buses off the APU generator as soon as the RPMs get up to a certain threshold. At that point, I'll start to get systems up and running. Let me do a little bit of get ahead work here. I'll uncage the standby ADI. I'll get power onto the displays as the generator just kicked in. Okay, so I'm just down to the left-right gen lights on, and okay, everything's looking good there. Now let's go ahead and clear fore and aft on 1. Let me motor the engine. Get some rotation going there, then I'll pull the throttle out of cutoff and get this thing up and running. Okay, let's go ahead and back to norm, pull it up. Okay, I'll just watch the engine instruments come on up. I should start to get some oil pressure building up. Hydraulic pressure is already built up on the left system. Just watching RPMs and watching temperatures as we go. And also my left generator, the one that's run by the left engine, is going to kick in, and I should get an expected caution and warning here momentarily. But as get ahead work as well, I'll go CDU and EGI on. Just to get my alignment started. There's the master caution for the generator. And that looks like a good start on 1. Okay, let me cycle 5 controls real quick. Just make sure that everything is as expected. Yeah, everything looks just fine, okay? Clear fore and aft on 2. Let me go ahead and motor. And there we go, picking up some rotation now. Okay, let's go ahead and norm. Pull it to idle. And again, just watching things as they come up. Looking good on temperatures. I've got the right system hydraulic pressure coming up. Yeah, everything's looking just hunky-dory there. Okay, now let me go ahead and get some comms going. TR. Main both. TR. Okay, I'm on 251 and I'm on 124. So 124 is a good frequency for AWACS and other aircraft in the area. As I've got good engine instruments, that looks like a good start on 2 developing here. Okay, and that one's up to RPM. So yeah, good config there. 251 is the flight frequency. So I see 2s out there already started up, and let me go ahead and set that to the tower frequency of 260 megahertz. Okay, there we go. And just so it'll step through, not because I think I necessarily need to do this, I'm going to go ATC Batumi. I'm going to do this on UHF. ATC Batumi. Startup. Okay, so caught up in the checklist through there. Let's go ahead and, okay, verified. Okay, AC Gen instrument inverter check. We do the inverter check as I'm here for startup, and okay, pull it to test. Okay, good instruments. Standby, back on. Going to pull the left gen off. Okay, the right generator picks up the load. I've got the caution light. Right generator off. Left gen picks up the load. I've got the caution light as well. Okay, and at that point, I can actually kill the APU generator. I don't need it, although I'll leave the APU running just a little bit longer. As Magic calling in pop-up crew 028 for 24 at 1500 flanking. That's going to be up towards, let me see, thinking about where the bullseye is, that abandoned airfield in the X configuration. That's going to be up there by Kutasi? No, Cabuletti. The airfield right up there. I've got something getting airborne. Okay, so I'm caught up in the checklist all the way down to the before taxi. Okay, verified crossfeed off, emergency brake handle in. I've got CMSP. I'm going to get my countermeasures set up as I am checking on the status of my INS alignment. It's still working there, so I'll press on. Okay, standby. Let's go on. We do an RWR self-test. I should start to get some indications if anything is up and transmitting right now. And I'll just leave it configured like that with the switch in standby until I get airborne. Then I'll activate the countermeasure system. Okay, so how are we looking on the INS alignment? Still plugging away, so let me press on with Tizzle Cage, and Tizzle is caged. Now, let's go for ILS power and TACAN power, and I can get the ILS power on. I need to set this to 110.3. for the Batumi ILS. I should get a tone as you see that was an RWR E3 off my nose, so I've got E3 support on this one. I was expecting a Morse code tone there. Yeah, I can hear it just barely in the background now. Okay, I'm going to go off on the ILS, and I'm going to go tech in. I want 13 X-ray. Let me check that. 16 X-ray is what I want. Okay, so 1, 6. I'll go transmit receive real quick. Do the test light on. Yeah, I don't hear the most Morse code, but it might just be kind of lost in the background noise there. Okay, so I've got the pointer right off to the nose, or right off where it should be. I think that's actually the TACAN station right there where my cursor is. So that's a good ops check of the TACAN in either case. So I'm going to secure it and leave that as is for now. Okay, now let's see. Flaps, speed brakes, flight controls, SAS, and trim checks. So let me go ahead and do the flaps. I want to go ahead and pull them down, and should be able to see good movement. I'll let you play the role as the crew chief. You can tell me if you see good movement. Okay, I'm going to go to the 7-degree setting, and then I'm going to go to the up setting, making sure that it stops at all of them. Okay, speed brake check. Let's go ahead and extend. Stop it with the emergency retract switch. Okay, pop up group 013 for 1500. Okay, same location up there around Cavuletti, or I'm sorry, yeah, Cavuletti. Okay, try to retract, try to open, close slightly, open. Let's cycle it, make sure they don't bind, and close, okay? So that's that one. Let me do the flight control check. So let's go, should have left up, right down, right up, left down, rudder's left, rudder's right, pitch up, pitch down, and brakes check. Let's see, I'll do this with anti-skid off on the first one, so pumping left, and the crew chief would have good movement on the brake pad. I'll go anti-skid on for the second one, pumping right. I think that's how it goes with the anti-skid switch, one in each, or one pump in each position. Then I'll go anti-skid off until we get caught up a little bit here. Although I could have left it on there, no big deal though. Okay, SAS check. Let's go ahead and go anti-skid on. Let's engage all the channels. Let's go left, verify the disengage, re-engage. Let's go right, verify disengage, re-engage. And I go takeoff trim. Anti-skid is still on. And trim check. So I'm just going to manipulate the trim, and I'll pretend the crew chief is calling in good movement on those for me. And just so that I don't have to sit here and tweak the thing to get it back to the center position, I'm going to dispense with the yaw check. Okay, let me re-engage the takeoff trim, have it drive it back to the takeoff trim position. And that's a good flight control check, and yeah, I caught everything there, I do believe, okay. And signal lamps test, I need to do one more. Now that I have power onto more of the electrical buses, I'll have more lights on, so that should be every single light in the cockpit on at this point. Okay, that's good. Okay, stepping through here. And I must have a good INS alignment by now, right? Okay, it must be just on the cusp of getting there. But I will go ahead and go CICU, JTRS, and IFFCC to the test position. I'll just stand by for that INS alignment before I engage the pre-flight bit there. Okay, now I've got INS nav ready. Let me depress nav. And as soon as my displays power up, I'll go ahead and do my DTS upload. I will, however, press through the pre-flight bit and let this run its course before going to the on position now. Okay, stepping through here. This is all mostly done. Okay, I've got all this. Okay, got that. CDU. And as soon as I get my upload in progress here. Okay, let's go load all. And I still got my test stepping through there. Okay, got that, got that, got that. Okay, left, right is required, load page, got it, status. Okay, let's go ahead and check our status page. New pop-up group, 027 for 24, same location. Okay, DTS upload should be complete. Let me go to the status page right now and checking for MFLs. MFLs are empty. Good status on all systems. Got it. Now let me go to the TAD. And let me go ahead and go to the CDU repeater up here. And I'm just going to cycle through all the steer points. Make sure that I've got all the data. Actually, first I'm going to depress flight plan, manual. Then I'm going to go to steer point, Now I'm just going to cycle through the steer points, making sure that both the TAD cycles and also making sure that the information on the CDU, which I have repeated on my right CMDI or MFD, making sure that information steps through correctly as well. Okay, so I've got my flight plan there. Okay, steer point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and back to base. And I'll leave it set up on steer point 1 for now. Okay, that'll work just fine. Okay, targeting pod, I will get it warming up now. I will go, okay, I've already got everything done down to the TACAN test, and that's already done. Okay, flight instruments checked, standby ADI is uncaged. Everything's looking just fine there. Let's go verify enter IFFCC data. Let me go enter, and let me go select down to exit, enter. And yeah, I'm not going to change anything on that. I'm just going to go straight to the on position. And I can also go to the EGI push button right there. And I've got good HUD indications now. Okay, so verifying SAS is still engaged. Yes, I can at my discretion kill the APU. But let me just keep reading through here. Okay, MFCD TAD, ladder stowed, AEP page position. Okay, pop-up group, same location. MFCD repeater. Okay, idle core RPM check. Let me set the brakes. Okay, let me run it up to full. Pull it straight back. Make sure I don't exceed 78% RPM. Okay, good check. And let's see here. Okay, stabilize it out for 10 seconds with it against the idle stop. ESP engage. Anti-skid, anti-skid. ILS off. Landing and taxi light is required. TACAN off. Shocks out. So I am ready to taxi at this point. But let me make one little quick sweep around the cockpit, just make sure that everything's configured. I'll go ahead and taxi on out. Everything's good on the fuel control panel. Okay, charging pod's still warming up and bring up the page, in fact. Okay, yes, still. Okay, there we go. So I've got it up and running now in the air-to-ground mode. Okay, all this stuff is still fine. Clock's good, instruments, E3. Good, good, good. Okay, let me go back to program echo. And APU gen is off, and I can go ahead and kill the APU as well at this point. So, APU coming off now. Okay. Okay, good to configure over here. I'll go pitot heat on just to have it warming up. And lights, I never did turn on any lights, did I? Okay, let me go to... Actually, let me go to steady on my position lights. I'll get my anti-collision light spinning out there. The rest of it I'll just leave as is. Okay, pop-up group, same location. So I'll have TACVIEW up, so you'll be able to see what that is, and I'll also get into combined arms and have a look at the F10 view. Actually, let me do that right now before I taxi. Okay, so here we are at Batumi, and I've got my forces right here. I've got one enemy unit spotted at this point, and I have Fog of War enabled for the combined arms stuff. So until I get eyes on, either by my units or by myself, I'm not going to be able to see anything on the map. Although I can at this point see a single T-72 that's probably been spotted by one of these guys. I'll go to an external view real quick. And you can see that my units have eyes on the town up there and have spotted at least one guy. That'll change once I get into the air, and I don't think I have anything else airborne to help me out here. So back to F10. I had those aircraft called out as getting airborne. I think they were getting airborne from Cabuletti right here. Yep, case in point. So with the bullseye right here, that was, well, I can't see the, here's another call. Yep, so if I call this 015 for 22, yeah, that's the location right there. That's the bullseye right here. Those are being called in by Magic, my E3 that I have on station right there. So back to F1 and back to the cockpit. Okay, and that'll all make a lot more sense. You'll see that it's a lot more significant once we get into a mission here. Now, okay, checking things here. GCAS. That's right. I didn't turn my radar altimeter on. Okay, that's up and running now. So at this point, okay, let me go ahead and call for taxi clearance. So UHF, A-10C Batumi, request taxi. Okay, got it cleared to taxi, and I think I was messing around with my pinky switch. Yeah, let me reconfigure this. I'll go... Actually, let me see. I had it on steady. That's why I killed the anti-collision light. Okay, now I've got the strobe going. Okay, let's go ahead and get the chocks out. Okay, crew chief is clear. Let me go ahead and run it on up. Engage nozzle steering. Check the brakes. And take it on out. Pop off a quick salute to the chief, then we'll head on out and get this thing going as Two's out there waiting to get airborne with me. Now, just take it out here to the left and then take off to the right out over the coast. Okay, so this should just be an exercise in following the route, and I've got steer point 1 selected. That'll be right off my nose, but at first I'm going to come up here to a quick arm area. I would have a crew out here, in fact, waiting to marshal me in, chalk me real quick. The weapons guys would pull the pins on my AIM-9s, and I would be on my way. Once the crew chiefs, who were part of the crew, give me a quick check for any leaks or any panels that are looking loose or anything that just looks out of the ordinary, as I have the E3 popping up on RWR as well there now. Let's go to the checklist, and let's do the before takeoff. So engine instruments, check, flaps set for 7 degrees. So I'm looking around to make sure I'm clear. Normally I'd have my hands so that the crew could see him. I'll assume that they know what I'm doing, and I can press on. Okay, speed brakes closed, verify, takeoff trim, check. Got it, TACAN set, an MSP is required, CMS is required, oxygen rig is required, canopy defog is required, windshield anti-ice is required, harness check, canopy closed and locked. I'll go ahead and get that. Okay, and canopy, or ejection seat, ground safety lever armed, exterior lights is required, position lights steady, anti-collision lights flash, which I believe is how I'm configured right now. Yes, indeed. Okay, and formation lights on for night ops only. HUD IS displayed. Yep, got it. 50. And MVGs set. And altimeter is set and check. I'll get an altimeter call once I call for takeoff clearance here in a second, and then I do the lineup check. Okay, so let's go ahead and taxi on out. Call for takeoff clearance. Okay, let's go Batumi. Request takeoff on UHF. There we go, F1. Okay, 2982. Or 2989, okay. Got it as I line up here more or less on the center line. I'll just set the brakes real quick. Okay, 2989. So let me rotate this around to right about there. Okay, yeah, that's pretty reasonable. Just above sea level here at Batumi. I'll go through the lineup check. We'll read through it, then I'll perform it. Flight instruments, anti-skid, pitot, APU off, 90%, engine, caution and warning. Okay, let me stow the checklist. Okay, let me get the seat. I should have got that back there before I got onto the runway. Okay, everything else is looking just fine. Let me go ahead and go 251 for my flight frequency. Okay, brakes are held. Let's run them on up to 90% core RPM and check some instruments here. So looking for good engine instruments as far as temperatures. I've got good oil pressures, good hydraulic pressures left and right. Okay, everything else is good. Okay, APU confirmed off and off. Okay, everything else just fine. Pitot, anti-skid, got it. Okay, let's go ahead and release the brakes, run them on up. Looking for 126 on a rotation speed here this time. Okay, so I'll disengage the nose wheel steering here momentarily. Okay, disengage through 60 knots. Just tracking it with gentle rudder inputs down the middle of the runway here. Okay, 105, looking for 126. That'll be a rotation for 10 degrees now. Okay, let's hold it off there. Okay, airborne, gear up. And once I get a little bit more speed build up, I'll pull the flaps up. I'm just keeping the aircraft at about a 10-degree climb, as indicated on the ADI right there. I could also kind of cheat and use the little zero sight line, the little where the little thingy right there is pointing on the HUD. Just keep it at 10. Flaps up. Okay, gotcha. Let me step over to steer point 2. That'll be a right-hand turn over to Batumi that we see right out there. Yep, fairly large city. As 2 is airborne behind me, or getting on the roll behind me, about halfway down the runway now. But folks, I'll tell you what, I've got to put a break in this video at some point, so I'll come back next time with a continuation of this familiarization flight. We'll have a peek into the turret area, look at the enemy location, see what we're up against, play around with combined arms a little bit, and then get the aircraft recovered and move on to the first combat mission of this campaign. So if you are enjoying this and you want to see more, please show your support by leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, and sharing this anywhere you want to, anywhere you think would be appreciated. These are all things that help me out, and it would be appreciated in return. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.